Hi guys, welcome back to Dream Designs by Dee. Today we are going to make an Easter pancake wreath. Can you believe it's already time for Easter? I'm actually a little behind, but I thought I'd hop on while I do this and hang out with you guys. So you're going to need a wire wreath frame from the Dollar Tree. This is one of the 14.5-inch ones, and then you're going to need 12 pipe cleaners. I'm using white and some 10-inch deco mesh. I'm going to use this green and white striped one. It's from Craft Outlet, and I'm also going to use a white. It's also from a Craft Outlet. And then I have a cute carrot sign and some ribbon, and it'll be fantastic. The reason why I like to make these is because if you have a storm door or a security door, you have that gap between. It's really not that big, and although I love the big fluffy wreaths, I personally have a storm door, and it's very difficult to get a cute wreath in there. So we're going to do one like this. It'll fit nicely between the gap and keep your door looking pretty for the spring season. So we're gonna get started. We're trying a little bit of a new camera angle today, so give me some feedback. Let me know how it works for you so I can change it up if it's not working. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go around the inner two rings right here, okay? And you're gonna take your pipe cleaner. You're not gonna cut it or anything. You're gonna go right where the first crossbar is, okay? Right here. Can y'all see? Right here, where the crossbar is, okay? And you should have 6 crossbars in your wreath. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna tie it between the bars, around both bars, and you're gonna tie it really tight, okay? I like to spin. It helps if you spin the frame rather than the pipe cleaner, just to help it get on there tight. And you can see right here where I went between these 2 bars, around both of them, and tied it off, okay? We're gonna do that 6 more times. I'm sorry, 5 more times. It's Thursday math for you right there. It's about to be a long weekend, and let me tell you, I am ready. Alright, so 3 down, 3 to go. And again, let me just show you on the back, you've got 1, 2, 3 right across those inner 2 bars, okay? Don't only do it on 1 bar. It's not enough stability. After your wreath comes together, you'll be really sad. Same thing, really tight. So I just like to hold it in the middle and spin my wreath around. For those of you with motion sickness, I apologize. I personally have motion sickness as well. When people do that on video, get a little bit queasy. So if you want to just fast forward through this part and you've got it, feel free to do so. Okay, and then here we have them on all 6 of the crossbars between rings 1 and 2, okay? So when you flip back over, now you're going to be working with rings 3 and 4, okay? And you're going to go in between these two pieces right here. Okay, so where you have your pipe cleaners on the crossbar, on rings 1 and 2, you're going to move down to rings 3 and 4, and you're going to put the pipe cleaner right in the middle. Okay? And you're going to do that 6 times as well. Once again, you're going to use both bars for stability. And then, helps if you get them even. And then you're going to spin your, you can even pick it up and spin it if that helps you. And then when you're done, you have it right here on bars 3 and 4. And you're going to go in between all of these pipe cleaners, or I'm sorry, whoo, I told you all I was ready for the weekend. In between the spot where you have the other 2 pipe cleaners. So I couldn't say anything before, but you guys, I'm so excited. A local bakery here in the DC area contacted me because they wanted to put some of my faux macaroons on a float they were creating for the DC Mardi Gras parade. And it was such an honor to work with them. They wanted giant macaroons, so I ended up making some that were almost 18 inches around. They ended up being pretty much the size of pizza pans, and they were awesome. They put them on their float. My family and I went down to the wharf area to watch the parade, and it was a great time. I was so honored to have that happen. And the pizza pan size macaroons are now available in my Etsy shop. So if you're on the hunt for a macaroon the size of a pizza pan, a fake macaroon, can't eat them, I'm your girl. All right, so now all the way around, okay, in between, we've got our pipe cleaners on bars 1 and 2 on the crossbar, and 3 and 4 in between the crossbar, okay? And you can see my pipe cleaners are tight. They're not wiggling around. That's really important, because if your frame moves around a lot, you're going to have a heck of a time keeping your mesh in place. So when you do a pancake wreath, on the first layer, you're just going to do 1, okay? And then in the middle, or the last layer, you're going to have 2 pieces of mesh. And so you kind of want to think about what color you want to see a lot of. Now I have the green and I have the white, and I want to see more of the green than I do the white. So I'm going to cut myself 12 pieces of the green, because it's going to need to go in every tie. And I'm going to cut myself 6 pieces of the white. So I'm going to use the white as sort of like an accent color, and then I'll use the green as my primary color, because since the sign is carrot themed, I want the green to stand out because the ribbon's going to be orange. And you could use orange mesh, I just didn't have any, and I need to get in gear, so I'm not going to wait for it to come either. So I also have a piece of mesh that I was working on when I did my Deco Mesh Angel, which we're going to do a tutorial on that soon too, so be on the lookout for that. They're so cute, and they're great for seasonal tree toppers. That's probably going to be the one that comes next. I'm just waiting on one little thing. Okay, so you want all of these to be at 20 inches. And like I said, I'm going to use the white as an accent color. So I'm going to cut 6 of those, and then I'm going to cut 12 of the green, okay? So I use a rotary cutter, I use this one. I cannot tell you what brand it is. I also have a Fiskars one. Excuse me. Make sure your blade is nice and sharp. Roll it out on your mat and cut it. You can use a wood burner to cut your mesh, although I'm just going to be honest and say that's not my recommended method. That is burning plastic. If you did it outside or something, it might be okay, but I don't have the ability to do that. So a rotary cutter is the next best thing. The sharper your rotary cutter is, the less your mesh will fray. Okay? Excuse me. And I've also seen people do it with scissors. More power to them. That is, I get a lot of fraying in that way. You're always going to get some fraying with your mesh, but I don't really need to add any extra to that. You know what I mean? But like I said, if that works for you, it's a more power to you situation. Actually, you know what? I don't want to use the metallic, so I'm going to go ahead and use just this plain white. Because it's in the middle, I don't think anyone's going to be able to notice. The metallic just doesn't work very well for the look that I'm going for. So I don't want to... Okay. There we go. Now, let's open it up. Holy moly. Okay. So this is a nice stripe mesh, but it's not very even. So I'm going to... try and even that out a little bit. Normally, I'm a big proponent that it doesn't it's not that big a deal, but that one was really bad. I am sorry, y'all. My throat is dry. Must be getting close to springtime. Okay, and then since this is going to be the primary color, we're going to cut 12 of these. And it looks like they cut it themselves and then rolled it. That drives me bonkers. But you know what? It's really close to 20, so I'm going to see if I can make it work. If I can't, that's okay. I'll just cut another piece. Now when you're cutting 20-inch mesh, you should be able to get about 18 pieces on a roll. So we should have a little left over. That's the perfect amount to make yourself oh my goodness, excuse me, a Deco Mesh Angel. So we may have to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, halfway there. And yes, I am throwing my mesh on the floor. I just, it's just easier. 9. 10. 11. 'Cause to change my blade, as soon as your blade starts going where it won't cut all the way through at one time, that's a very good sign that you need to change it. I usually wait until the blades are on sale in the sewing supply section at Hobby Lobby, and then I buy a whole bunch so I can change them out when I need to. Okay, now the way that we build this one, you can do it 2 different ways. You can do it from the top down, you can do it from the bottom up, or you can stagger them. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick your primary color, okay? And you are going to give it a nice little ruffle. Now when you ruffle, you want to fold a little bit of the bottom over, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be even. You're just really, I don't know if you can see, protecting that frayed edge, okay? Because the more that frayed edge is exposed, the more it's gonna fray. So if you can fold it under a little bit, that's what's gonna help you protect it a little more. So you're gonna grab it and pinch it, okay? I'm using my thumb and my index finger, and then my other 3 fingers on each hand are gonna pull the mesh towards me, okay? Now this mesh works really well for this because you can follow that green line in the middle, okay? And then you're gonna fold your other edge under. See, that helps protect that raw edge, okay? You're gonna fold it under, and then you have this nice little pleat, okay? Now once you have that, you wanna make sure it's even, okay? You can pull on each end right here, and that'll help even it out, okay? And if it's uneven from here to here, you just pull a little bit on the opposite side and it'll even right out, okay? So then you start on the bottom. I'm gonna start right here in this tie, and you put this one in, okay? Now, you don't wanna go crazy, all right? But push it down and tie it, okay? Now you're gonna adjust it. Just tie it the one time, one twist, because you're gonna have to put another color on top of it, okay? Then here, instead of fluffing it up, you're gonna flatten it down, all right? So you're gonna grab it and you're gonna push it down. Excuse me. Get it as flat as you possibly can. All right. Now you're going to take your second color. Okay. You're going to do the same thing. Now here, same deal. I know it's hard to see because this here. Let's put this on top so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Fold this up. And you can see already where it started to fray a little bit. That's going to be the edge you want to protect, okay? If it's easier for you, you can keep something on it the whole time. like this. Okay, now you're going to grab it and ruffle it up. I jammed my finger in the washing machine and it really hurts. So I'm trying to be really careful with it so that I don't make it worse. So if my hand looks a little weird, I'm trying to avoid it. I'm just trying to avoid that. Okay. Here you go. Little ruffle, little bow tie, butterfly, whatever you want to call it, okay? Now you're going to come back over here to where your other tie is. This part requires just a touch of coordination. Okay? Untie it. Put it back in. Push it down. The key, one of the keys is pushing it down really tight, okay? Grab it. And now pull it tight, and you're going to give it, I like to do at least 2 turns, okay? Because you're really going to tie it off when you you put the ribbon in, okay? And I like to try and keep the openings on this side, okay? When you put a ruffle in, you really have 2 choices, right? You can put it so that it's vertical, okay? Like this, or horizontal. I prefer to turn them so they're mostly horizontal, and this is so that they don't have the opportunity to open up on the bottom. Because when you have them opening on the bottom, it's very, very easy for them to catch on something or for them to gape, and it just gives kind of an unfinished look to your wreath. But if the opening is on the side, it's easier to hide it with other mesh. And so for that reason, I keep it horizontally. Okay, so now you also have these 2 pipe cleaners up here. Can you see that? Move them up to the top for now and keep them out of the way, and open your next one, and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so we want the green to the bottom, and I know it looks kind of funny now, but trust me, it's going to all come together. This one, that's the short one. I'm going to put the short one on the top. Okay, sometimes when it's time, when you're putting your wreath together, you have to do a little strategizing. All right. Okay, so I've folded my edge under, and here we go with the ruffling, okay? We're just using our fingers essentially to pull that mesh towards us. I've heard some people describe it as walking the mesh towards you, which is a pretty good way to think about it. Then you put that there. Do your adjusting. And sometimes they do look a little funny, but you know what? Once you get them on there, you really can't tell. All right, so here's your open pipe cleaner. It's right next to the one that you just did. Okay, you're gonna stick it in there, push it down, pull it tight, okay, and give it one good twist. Now here you go. See, you could put it like this with the mesh open vertically, right? But at the bottom here, anytime you move that around, you're gonna get a gap. Okay, it's gonna kind of mess with the overall appearance of your wreath. So if you just grab it and turn it so it's horizontal, you're gonna save yourself visually a lot of trouble, okay? And make sure this is tight, because if you twist it, it'll come undone. And it really doesn't matter, since you're gonna put another piece of mesh in there, but it will frustrate you real fast. Okay, and this one right here, of course, giving me trouble. And then you can just spread it out and flatten it out. Do what you need to do, okay? And right here where it's puffing up, you just want to turn it in and flatten it out, okay? Now, we're going to do another one. Again, fold it under to protect that raw edge. Okay? This is way easier to do if you have not smashed your finger recently in a washing machine. Just so you know. Okay. Ready? And you're already at the bottom. It's already folded over. That's the nice thing about working with end pieces on a project like this. They just kind of fold themselves. Look, it may not seem like a lot, but sometimes I need all the help I can get. Okay? So now right here, we're going to put it in. All right? We're going to push it down as far as we can. And then we're going to tie it really, really tight. Okay? And you're going to turn it again so that those openings are horizontal. And then you're going to fluff it out. Now, like, it's mesh, it's going to puff up a little, but this is not nearly as fluffy as one of the big ones, okay? But it's still going to be just as it's still going to look just as nice. I have a pancake wreath on my front door right now. My neighbor constantly asks me to make her one, which this one may go to her or it may go to my shop. I haven't decided yet. Because she likes how big it is between the door and it's flat. Okay. I've folded it under. Okay. And now you're just going to grab it. And where that little lip is, you're going to fold the whole thing under and push it back in. Okay. There we go. This one may need to pinch this way just a touch so it's more even. So I really started making this version. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I like the big ones. Okay, they're my favorite to do. I like all the decorations and the bells and whistles, the flowers, but there's a couple of things, right? Well, let's go back to the original point. I started making these because my parents live in Colorado, and they live in a part of Colorado where there is lots of wildlife, okay? Bears, deer, what have you. And they have a very large and secure door, storm door, because they need to keep the bears and the deer, and lately the moose, out of their house. And so they have a very secure front door. And my mother loves wreaths, and she was wanting to buy some of mine, but when she hung them over the outside, everybody says just hang them over the outside of the storm door. The deer would actually come up on their porch and try to eat them. And the birds make nests in them, and all types of things. So she said, can you make one that fits in the space between the door? And of course, I went to the University of YouTube, and there's quite a few really good tutorials out there on these. So I watched a few, and I made her one with a hummingbird on it, and then her neighbor saw it and said, hey, can you make one for me that will fit in my door, and ironically she wanted one that had bears on it. I always think that's funny. And then I was off to the races. So, and then for a couple of years we were stationed in Colorado, and we also had a storm door, and I made one for my own door, and here we are. And the second reason that I like these is that they're a little bit more cost effective. Now the big ones are beautiful, okay, but we all know you have to charge a lot, right? Because you have a lot of supplies in there. And no matter what, you don't cheat yourself, okay? So you know that you have to charge for what you put in it. Well, if you put a lot in it, you have to charge a lot for it. That's just the way of the world. You're not ripping people off or being unfair. You're valuing your own talent, right? And these are a little bit more cost effective because they don't use as much mesh. They don't have as many embellishments. I mean, you can put embellishments on them, but you have to be careful not to embellish to the point where they won't fit in the door anymore, because then you've just defeated the whole purpose. This one is just really fighting me. And so it makes them a little more cost effective, which makes them a nice option for people who maybe enjoy something nice but can't spend hundreds of dollars. And because they're flat, they fit nicely in a shipping box. I mean, you can get one of these easily in a 24 by 24 by 4, or even a 24 by 24 by 3. And that the height is really where things start to add up, right? The height of your shipping container. So if you can get that down right away, you're saving money. And you're saving your customer money, which means you can charge less. And there's a lot of people out there who are looking for that option right now. And it's also good to diversify, right? The more options you have in your shop, the more likely you're going to make a sale. If all of your items cost $100 or over, you're going to end up maybe missing a sale from someone who can't spend that much. And that's fine if that's your market. But if you're looking to add more price points, this is a good way to do it. And I just find that sometimes I need that extra price point in order to make a sale. Especially when there's some uncertainty in the economy, or anything really. There's always going to be people who need a lower price point, and there's always going to be people who are comfortable shopping at a higher price point. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things. But as a business owner, it's up to you to decide what you're offering. Are you offering only high-priced items? Are you offering only low-priced items? Are you offering a mixture? If it's your business, so it's your decision. And I prefer to offer a little bit of everything. And that works for me. Okay. So we're still pushing it down tight, right? As tight as we can go. And then we're fluffing those flat. Flat, flat, flat. Flatter the better here. And I don't know if I said this or not, you do not have to line up the folds of each mesh. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's better if you don't do that because it gives it a little more depth. And if the folds end up in the same place every time, your wreath can get a little bit bulky. Okay, and then on the top, we're still grabbing the underneath pipe cleaners. Okay, let me peel this back. See, we're still grabbing, and we're just pulling them to the top. We're going to come back around to those, okay? You can do it the other way, but then there's a lot of lifting of the mesh. And as we all know, the more you touch the mesh, the more it frays. And when you're trying to avoid frays, that's just not... I still need a longer one. I keep grabbing the short piece. And honestly, guys, if it does fray, before you ship it, you can just clip it off. It'll be okay. Also, if you're really patient and you can get a very little bit of Mod Podge, and you can put it on the edges if you are concerned about the amount of fraying. You can also seal them with wreath sealer. I personally don't usually do that. However, if I know the person is going to be exposing it to a lot of crazy elements, then I will. For instance, I made a baseball wreath last year for a longtime customer, and I know that she lives by the ocean, right? And I knew she would take it in at night and everything, and her porch was covered, but that salty sea air is not going to be doing that design any favors. So I went ahead and sprayed the Krylon sealer on it. Again, only because I know where and how she was going to display it. And no matter what, and she knows too, putting it outside in the salty sea air is gonna shorten the life of the wreath, which she already knows. She buys a lot from me, and that's what she wants to do. But in an effort to just give her a little more life in it, I did spray that one. Like I said, if you know where it's going to be hung, it's going to go in a place where it's going to be exposed more than average, then I would consider spraying it. I also spray my mom's, one, because she's my mom, but also because their house faces south, and they don't have any bushes or trees or anything to protect it. And a fun fact about Colorado is that they get like 300 days of sun there a year. You don't, and it's not, it sounds silly to say, but it's not regular sun. It's high altitude, very intense sun, because you're very high up in the air or in altitude, and you there's just not a lot of protection from it, and that's also why you can get sunburned quickly and easily there. And I know that because I grew up there, and it will fade anything that you put outside very quickly because it is a very intense sun. And so I spray hers too because, one, she's my mom, and two, I know that that sun beating on it is going to fade the ribbon faster than it would if I put it on the front door at my house. Oh, I forgot to do the green ruffle. You know what? If that happens to you, happens to me a lot because I get busy chatting and then I forget what I'm doing. Take out your Bodabra, pop your ruffle inside, and you can do your green one without worries. A fun, oh man, a fun fact is early in my husband's career, we lived in California. We lived in San Diego. And there's endless sun there, which is so awesome. But the sun there is not nearly as intense as it was where I grew up in Colorado. Not nearly as intense. So, if I know that something that I've made is going to be in a situation like that, then I will go ahead and spray it, just because I think it's a good it's just good customer service. Okay. And for those of you who are next thinking, which one does she like better? I would 100% pick living in San Diego over anywhere else we've lived. There's a lot of negativity that we've encountered about California, the lifestyle there, whatever. But I'm gonna just tell you this. I'm not looking to offend anyone. This is not a political thing. Since my husband joined the Navy, we've lived in a lot of places. This is our 6th place that we've lived in about 10-ish years. Okay, and there are some that I've liked and there are some that I have not liked. But in California, there's good food, there's sun, there's surf. Everybody says the traffic is really bad, and I'm not going to lie to you, it can be, okay? It does not hold a candle to the traffic on the East Coast. It's not even close. The traffic in Washington, D.C. is 5 times worse than the traffic in California. Hands down. Hands down. And the weather in California, any doubts that you have about anything will go away once you go swimming in the pool on a Christmas day. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. So now we're going to move on to the top layer. Okay? So you're going to take that pipe cleaner that was hiding underneath here, right here. Okay, and you're going to pull it up so its little antenna are up, and you're going to put your bottom ruffle down over it. Ideally, you want it to come up between the 2 ruffles right here, just like this, okay? And you're going to grab your green mesh, because again, remember, green is our primary color, okay? And this is where it's really going to start to come together, all right? So you're going to do the same thing. We're folding and we're ruffling. I will say though, hands down, I prefer the Atlantic Ocean. Has anyone ever been in the Pacific Ocean? It is cold. For a place so sunny it is cold. There's like 2 months a year where it's not cold. And the rest of the time, if you're brave, you might put your feet in, but you aren't swimming in it. At least not in California, you aren't. Okay, same thing. All right, pull your little antenna tight. Okay, push it down. You want to push it down as far as you can and pull it as tight as you can, okay? And then once you've done that, twist it a few good times. And now you're going to spread it out. And see now how it's starting to come together? You're getting some of that coverage. Those weird gaps in the middle are covering up where you thought, what in the world is that lady doing? Okay? It's going to come together, I promise. Now, you're going to take your second pair of antennas, work it up through the mesh. Okay, and this is why I prefer to do these from the bottom up. Because if you put this layer on first, you have to lift all kinds of nonsense to get your bottom layers in. Okay, now here's this one, okay? It's sticking up. Okay, you want to work it through until it's all the way up. Just work it. Now you're going to grab another piece, right here, right down here. Fold it over. I just pulled on the end there to even out my ruffle. If it gets a little bit away from you, you can always pull on the end, and that's just going to help you even it out a little bit. Sometimes they get wonky. Again, they also tend to get wonky if you have seriously injured your finger in a freak washing machine accident and you can't properly hold on to things. Actually, it was the dryer that got me, not the washing machine. Okay, there you go. And get all these other little pieces out. Okay, and then you're going to smush it down. So here's my non-wreath related PSA for the day, okay? If you live in a house that is not your own, when you move in, make sure that you check to make sure that the dryer is venting properly to the outside. Our dryer, I've mentioned before, I think we live in military housing, okay? And here's my antenna. And so a lot of people move in and out of these houses. It's not a big deal. It's just part of the lifestyle. Whatever, right? Well, the housing company might clean the house, or they might do a little bit, but they're not gonna be super thorough. Okay, their job is to turn it over and get someone else in there as soon as possible. Well, shortly after we moved in, I started noticing things showing up in the lint trap of my dryer that were not mine. For instance, I found a little girl's hair tie. Okay, well, I don't have any little girls, and the hair ties that I use match my hair color, which, although now is mostly gray, my hair ties are brown and black. And So it became obvious pretty quickly that a lot of the lint showing up in our lint trap was not ours. And we have before had problems with the lint causing the heating element in our dryer to burn out. Well, sure enough, I went to start the dryer and it was rotating, but there was no heat. So when I was looking at it, I smashed my finger down in a little crack between the back of the dryer and the door, and it is just so sore. Okay, so we've got that on there again, and we're Alright, there we go. And if you don't check your dryer, then it will burn, the excess lint will burn out your heating element, and you will be drying your laundry in your backyard for all to see like a crazy person. It's not exactly that that part bothers me. What bothers me is that they can probably, because of the way my house is situated, see my laundry hanging out at the Pentagon. Or we don't live close to that at all, but it's a pretty clear line of sight. And yeah. You can also probably see it at the airport and a variety of other places in this area. So I just yeah. Plus, it's just inconvenient. I have 2 boys. They're beyond dirty at all times. And I need my dryer. So. Here we go. But my next PSA is this, okay? When it comes to dryers, there's very few things that can actually be wrong with them. And you can actually, once again, go to the University of YouTube, where you found me, and you can pretty much diagnose and replace your dryer parts yourself. Now, if it gets too serious, my husband is handy. That helps. But I have done it myself. My friend and I did it by ourselves when her husband was gone, and so was mine. And I was 6 months pregnant, and we did it in her dryer. So it can be done. It can be done. It is something, though. I will warn you. But it's actually, you know what? I'm misleading you a little bit, and I am not handy. I am not handy at all. But it wasn't that hard. It wasn't the easiest because we had no idea what we were doing. But we figured it out and moved on, which is great because I completely understand why people who repair things charge as much as they do. Okay, it's just like us. We are not so much paying them for the part, because heating elements for dryers are cheap. The one I bought on Amazon was $24. We are paying them for their experience. The time my friend and I did it, it probably took us almost 3 hours. And when my husband and I did it, it took us an hour and a half. I don't know how long it takes a professional, but I imagine it's much less than that. But if you can do it yourself, and it's a lot cheaper, and my My friend back home just had this problem. She told me she had to wait for 2 weeks before someone could come out and look at it. And I can't wait that long. I'm not that patient. So it should be here tomorrow. And we will get that going. And then I can have dried clothes again. And towels and all those good things that we take for granted in our lives now. Okay. So here, this one just needs a little bit of a and once again, you just want to flatten and press until you get it looking like you like it, okay? Okay, and the last one, you just have to dig in there, get that antenna, and then work it up. The last one's always the hardest because by now you've really built this into something. Work it up through the layers, okay? It's right there. I totally miscounted too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I did. I don't know how that happened. That's what I get for chit-chatting instead of... It's okay though. We'll use it for something else. Last ruffle, we're just pulling it towards you, okay? And when you get to the bottom, fold it over. And we're gonna put it right here. And anything else that looks a little funny, you can adjust, and if you can't get it, it's gonna work itself out when you get the ribbon on. Okay, wreaths are made in layers, and the more layers you add, the better it's gonna look. And if you have a mistake with all the more layers you add, the less visible it's gonna be. And it's always gonna be visible to you because you know where it is. But 95% of the time, other people are not gonna notice. They're not going to notice at all. Okay. Right here where this little pop is, we're going to pop that back. All right. So now we have our nice little base down. Okay. And we're going to get some ribbon and some sign and put that on, and then we'll be done. Okay, so here's the sign. It says carrots, 5 cents. All right. And then I picked some carrot themed ribbon, some orange polka dot ribbon, some green plaid, and a regular spring green. Okay, I did 6 of each, and I did, I cut it at 12 inches on my perfect tails, okay? And now we're just gonna add it in, let's do that, that's better, huh? Now we're just gonna add it in to our ties. So I've already started with 2, and we're just gonna alternate here. So we've got the orange here, so next it'll be the green. You just want to take your ribbon, fold it in half, and then the same thing right here with the green. I paired the green and green together. I was going to do the green with the carrots, but I didn't like the orange with the plaid. So here we are. And then you're going to lay one on top of the other, pinch it together, fluff it nicely, and you're going to stick it right in your pipe cleaner. I'm doing the top first just because I was trying to decide what ribbons I liked, and there we go. Now once you get your ribbons in, that's when you're going to want to tie it really tight. Push down if you have to. Make sure you get at least 3 turns, okay? And then you're just going to pull that forward and fluff them out, okay? And there you go. So then we're going to do the orange one right here. Same deal. Carrots. Okay, fold in half. Now my carrot ribbon is from Craft Outlet. It's the orange. Fold it in half. The orange is on a 50-yard roll from Craft Outlet. The green, I am pretty sure, is also from Craft Outlet. And the green plaid. And then this green right here, that is from Sam's last year. I heard some of the Sam's Clubs are already getting their spring ribbon. And if you have a Sam's near you, you should go check it out. I'm hoping to go this weekend. The Sam's here is kind of far away. Oh my word, I know you all are probably thinking, what is wrong with you? Are you sick? I'm not. We've been cleaning the garage, and the dust in there is just, whew, holy gravy. Okay, I'm just fluffing that out, making it look nice and pretty. And it's wired ribbon, so you know, pull it where you want it to go, okay? Then open up this tie. Same thing, green, fold it in half, green, fold it in half, okay. Just tuck it right in there, push it down as far as you can go, pull it tight. Oh, I missed that one. Sometimes that happens and then your ribbon gets all funky, right? Gotta do it 3 times and then you just fluff it out. Sort of forgot which way I was fluffing. And something that'll really help the presentation of your wreath is if you check the length of your ribbons, because nothing is more obvious than when you go to put your wreath on a door and one of the ribbons is way short. It's happened to me, and the more you put in and do and what have you, the harder it is to fix. So okay, there we go. We're pinching. We're fluffing. And to fluff, you're just running your fingers under the wire, okay? Now, if you want to do this in an X, you can, just when you put it down, okay, instead of pulling your ribbons to the front, you're going to pull them this way, okay? Some people like that. It gives a little more ribbon coverage. I used to do mine that way, and then after a while I decided that the ribbon is more expensive than the mesh, and I was more about the ribbon than the mesh, I suppose is what I'm saying. And so when I did the ribbon, I wanted more of the ribbon to show. If you want more of the mesh to show, then you're going to want to do it in an X, okay? So now we're going to go in between. So you can kind of decide whether you want it to be the same as the one in front or the same, excuse me, as the one behind. So when I'm looking at this, I can either put the orange here and the green here, or the green here and the orange here. And I want to put the orange right here, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing. Fold my ribbons in half, and this does go real fast once you once you get everything cut. The cutting is the most time-consuming part, right? Okay. So then you're just gonna go where your little antennas are. Same thing. Push it down, down, down. 3 good turns because you want it to be really tight. Okay, then I'm just measuring to make sure that the ends are the same. Might have to pull the pipe cleaner a little forward. That's okay. Once we cut everything off, it'll be and then you just make it look pretty. Alright, and then that's a little hung up on the, just gonna tuck that underneath, pull the ribbon over. Okay, same thing, right? Here's our little antenna, right? It's right underneath the ribbon on the second layer, okay? So it's over here, all right? And you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna get a green, fold it in half. And I do want to mention, guys, I did dovetail these. That gives it a little more finished look. So what you do with that is when you cut your ribbon off, right, it looks like this with that solid edge, okay? So all you're going to do is you're going to take your ribbon, you're going to fold it in half, like that, and then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut upwards towards the finished end of the ribbon, okay? And you do that on both ends, and that's what gives it that nice finished look. I think I need to move. There we go. So here we go, we've fluffed it, we've run our fingers under the wire, and then right here, underneath this top layer, where your second pipe cleaner is, you're gonna push it down and twist 3 times, okay? pull that pipe cleaner forward because you don't want it to spear through the top of your mesh, and it will. And then you can, plus it's easier to clip. Then you can put everybody down again, flatten it out, and spin it around again. Okay, so here, holy Moses, I'm making a mess. What else is new? Okay. I'm gonna try and pull this back a little so you can see. Okay, ready? Here's your little antenna, right? Pull them forward and up a little. Okay, that's gonna help you. It's hard to see because the pipe cleaner is white. Fold it in half. Fold this one in half too. This orange ribbon is difficult to work with because it's got, it's really satiny. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of satin ribbon. However, I really liked the orange polka dots. So, here we are. Okay, then you're going to take this, all right? You're going to open up your pipe cleaners. You're going to place that right inside. Pull it nice and tight. Make sure it's flat. And then turn it 3 times, okay? Now once you've done that, you're gonna get all your layers together, okay? Pull it forward. And if you have this where it's all curled up, okay, you're going to grab it at the base and just kind of do a little shake at the base, and that's going to help it come clear, okay? See that? Then, it's hard for me to see backwards. Then you just want to take your layers, because sometimes they like to stick to each other. Separate them out so that the top layer is still the top layer, the bottom layer is still the bottom layer. Okay, now we're moving on. We only have, holy Moses, we only have 4 more to do, okay? And don't worry if you mess up your other ribbons while you're fixing the first one. That happens to everybody. All you got to do is fluff them out, okay? They're wired ribbon. It's wired. It'll go back. All right? Same thing. Now, if you're not crazy about the green here, you could easily change this and you could just do the carrot ribbon and the polka dots. You could do the carrot ribbon and the polka dots and alternate it with a green one. You could do the green with like a beige burlap style. You could add a little black and white buffalo plaid because our sign has some black edging on it. There's a whole bunch, really. Of ways that you can change it or personalize it or whatever you like to do. Lori from Hardworking Mom, although I don't know if she's Hardworking Mom anymore. I thought I saw somewhere that she had sold her name, but I don't really know. She always says the beauty of wreath making is that no two wreaths are ever going to look the same, and that's exactly true. So even if you make this exact same one, it's not going to look like mine. Could look similar, but there will always be little differences. Your personal style, my preference. Maybe you like your ribbon to be in an X, and I like my ribbon out front. And that will make our wreath look different. Or maybe you don't like polka dots. Maybe you choose to go with stripes. Or maybe you don't like green, and so you do orange and burlap. And that is why there's room enough for everyone to do this. People get really worked up about competition, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be healthy competition. You should want to put out your best product. You should want to do your best for your customers, but notice that I did not say you should want to beat the other person. You should want to take down their business. You should want to badmouth them to get ahead or steal their sales, because there really is room for all of us. Just because I like this style doesn't mean that everyone does, and so someone might not want to buy my wreath because this isn't their style, and that's fine. There's plenty of other wreath makers who make things that are their style, and if that person gets a sale, we should celebrate them. We can learn from them. I'm sure they're doing something that we are not, or I'm not, and they can learn from me just as I can learn from them. Sometimes I have trouble telling on that ribbon which one is the front. And the light in here is not, I need to probably add more lights, but I just don't know that I have the room. This room is very small. It's supposed to be a bedroom, but in all honesty, I don't know, by the time you got a bed in here, I don't know that there would be room for very much else. Like, my kids would be very hard pressed to have room in here. They share a room right now, but it's a bigger room. They'd be very hard pressed to, whichever one had to stay in here successfully, it would be tight. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so now we've fluffed, we've put our ribbons down, and we're gonna move on to the sign. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can put it down below, and you can put a bow on the top, right up here. I personally love bows, but on this particular one, I don't think that I'm gonna do a bow. I think I'm just gonna put this sign in the middle. Now this is a very, very well made big sign from Katie at Crazy Maisie Creations, and her stuff is so adorable. I just love it. Now, I bought this sign a long time ago, okay? I have a very large stash that I am trying to work my way through. I do not know if she still has them. I don't know anything about that. All I can tell you is that's where I bought it. I bought it quite a few years ago, and I've been waiting to use it. Okay, now when you put your sign on, you want to look around the wreath, and you want to see where it looks best. Now, you might want to do it one up and one down. I don't want to do that because the sides here and here, they're not even, and my brain doesn't like that. So I want to put it somewhere where it's going to be between the ribbons, and that's going to give it more of a uniform look. Okay, do you see how here it's between the ribbons and then there's ribbon on the side as well? That's going to give it a more uniform look, and it is just adorable. So you can put this on a couple different ways. You can use a staple gun. If you choose to use a staple gun, please, 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 this is a Fiskars staple gun. I got it at Michael's several years ago. Please use the thinnest staples you can buy. If you use heavy duty staples, you will be sad. Also, see how thin this sign is? It's thin, right? Really thin. If I just take this staple maker to the back of this sign, I'm going to punch a hole straight through the front of the sign, and I'm going to be sad because it's going to ruin my sign and my design. So please, 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 please take a piece of felt. Take, I like to use a little piece, a long piece of shelf liner, okay, like this. I fold it in thirds, and I put it back here, like this. And then I take my wire or my pipe cleaner and I staple it like this, okay? If you are going to do that, use a pipe cleaner, don't use wire. The reason I say that is this pipe cleaner is way thicker and there's much less chance of you punching through the sign, okay? Because once you punch through the sign, you're pretty much done. You can also take some tabs. I don't know if I have any. You can go to Harbor Freight, Lowe's, Home Depot, Amazon, wherever your shopping preferences lie, and you can buy these, okay? These are adhesive cable ties. They have a backing. You peel it off. Now, do not just set this on here. Once again, it will fall off. You will be sad. Use some hot glue and a little bit of Gorilla Glue or E6000 and glue it right on the back. Then you can slide your wire in and do that. I think if I can come up with enough, excuse me, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I am not crazy about the idea of stapling this sign, but I don't know if I have enough cable tie mounts left. Well, I have two. Oh, look at that. Look at that, y'all. I do. So I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put them on just like that. And I'm going to use my hot glue and my E6000. Now, you are going to have to let this dry for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and stick them on. And when it's dry, I'll be back to show you how to attach it. And we'll cut off the pipe cleaners and call it a day. Okay, so we've added our adhesive mounts. I used E6000. I let it dry overnight. You can also add a little hot glue on these just to help them set up, but I was able to hold them, and now they're stuck on there really well. So that should hold our sign in place. Do not just use hot glue, guys. If you do that, your sign could fall off and you'll be sad. Your customer will be sad. It'll be a bad day. So after you get your cable tie mounts adhered to your wreath sign, go ahead and get some wire. You can also use pipe cleaners. I just think wire looks a little better because you can hide it. This is 22 gauge wire. It's really thick. This one is from Michael's, but you can buy it anywhere. Floral wire is cheap, guys, so buy the big paddles because you'll use it a lot. And I'm gonna cut 4 pieces. I just kind of eyeball it. This one is about 24 inches long, and then once I cut one piece, I just line up the other ones. It's hard to see on camera. I just line up the other ones and cut away. Okay. You don't really need a ton on these because they're not very deep, but it's always better to have too much than too little, because when you get too little on there, you don't have enough. You either have to cut another one or patch, and it's just a hassle. So cut as much as you need to begin with. And I've cut 4 pieces. Again, mine are about 24 inches long. They don't even all have to be the same length. They just have to be enough to go through the mesh, okay? Then you're gonna take your wire. Again, it's really hard to see it on camera, but you're gonna poke it. There's holes, there's vertical holes and horizontal holes, okay? I go through the horizontal holes. I pull it a good amount through, and I just twist it really tight. Now on these, you might want to get some pliers involved just so it doesn't move around a lot. And you're going to do the same thing all the way through. When you get your wire too long, it pokes you. I hate that. Then you're fighting the wreath and the wire, not making any progress anywhere. Okay. Our last one. Right here. And it also, it doesn't really matter which direction you stick it, just whichever one you can get it through. Mind your wire, make sure it doesn't snag on something else. Okay, so then you're going to turn your sign over, and remember we had a long talk about placing it where we want it to go, where we think that it looks best. You can do it like this. I actually think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to place mine this way, okay? You just want to make sure, if you're looking for symmetry, that you have symmetry in the ribbons. And on a pancake wreath, I like to go for a little more symmetry because there's not as many embellishments on the side. So if you have a place where your ribbon is off, or your sign, it doesn't make it look even, like there's not one ribbon on the top and one ribbon on the bottom, or there's not two ribbons on each side. It's really noticeable because you don't have all those embellishments to cover it up. So just put some thought into the way that you're affixing it, and then all you're going to do is take your wire, because you use the 22 gauge wire, and that wire is really thick, and you're going to poke it right down through all your mesh. Okay, I like to feel underneath, and when I find the bar, I like to go either right in front of or right behind that, so that it has a good place to grab onto. Okay, and then you're going to do that for all, and pull your pipe cleaners out front. We're going to deal with those in a minute. Okay, then I like to go, just to keep it from sliding around and potentially maybe getting off center, I like to do the top two, the top and bottom rather, and then I like to do the sides. It just helps hold. Putting a sign on a wreath is one of the most frustrating things you can do, but the only way out is through, because you've come this far. It's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get worked up. I drink a lot of coffee. I find that makes me get worked up a little bit faster. Okay, so then you want to make sure that it's the way you want it. And then you can put your side wires in. Now and you can adjust it a little bit once the wire is in, but it's not going to be a lot. So take the time. And I'm not saying you will never have to adjust a sign once you put it on, because you will. But the more time you take in the beginning, the less likely you are to have to do it. Just feed your wire through. And you can see I'm just going right down through the mesh. I usually try to find a gap and put it on that way. But on a wreath, a gap in the mesh. But on a wreath like this, there's just really no point, because you're going to, the mesh is thin, and you're going to attach it where you're going to attach it. Does that make sense? It has to go in a certain area, because just because of the design of the wreath. And the mesh is thin, the ruffles are thin, it's easy to poke through. So I just poke it. It'll be okay. And if you get like a little loop or something you don't like before it's really tight, you can just pick it up. Just make sure that you've pulled it all the way down. So that you have the ability to tie it tight, okay? If you get a loop or something in there, you're gonna have some give in your wire, and once you get that give in there, it becomes extremely difficult to tie it tight. And then after a couple of uses, your wreath will get floppy. Nobody likes that. So then you're going to turn it over okay? And you've got all your wires through the back, right here next to the crossbars, okay? Now don't put too much pressure on your wreath because you don't want to smash your sign. But add some tension. Okay, I like to go once around the bar it's next to. I'm being real careful because that nail that I hit in the dryer, it is hanging half off, and I discovered it's my actual fingernail that's hanging on for dear life, not my acrylic nail. So I am just trying to be as careful as can be. Okay, then go to the one above it and go around one time, okay? The reason you want to go to the one above it is because of gravity. When your wreath is hanging on a door, gravity wants to pull it down, right? So if you only affix it to the one on the bottom, to the crossbar on the bottom, eventually your sign is going to sag. To avoid that, I like to go a couple of times around the bar that's up a little bit, if that makes sense, from where your wire went through, okay? And you don't have to go a bunch of times. A few good times is good. Clip off your excess wire. I like to leave just a little bit, okay? And then you're going to fold that in. Now make sure that the sharp ends of your wire are not hanging out of the back of your wreath. If you do that, it will scratch your door. It will scratch your customer's door. It can really hurt you. I have sustained a number of wounds from floral wire. Don't do it, okay? If your customer gets pricked by floral wire, they are probably not going to want to come back to you, okay? And this wire is heavy duty, so you may need some pliers, but make sure that you fold the end of the wire underneath so that it is facing into your wreath and not out to your customer or the door. Then give it a little pinch and you're good to go. Okay, we're going to do this one. We're going to go once around. I'm actually going to cut some of this off in the beginning. Okay, we're going to go once around this one that we came under, okay? And I'll show you when we turn it so you can, okay, so once around the crossbar because we came in right here, all right? Get it over there. Now this is the next crossbar, okay? So I'm going to go under. Alright, and you got to also make sure that your wire is tight, okay? Tight, 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 tight. You don't want it so tight that you're pulling the sign through the back, but you don't want it to, you don't want it loosey-goosey, okay? Now you're going to loop it around these bars a few times. When it starts getting short, grab it, loop it over a few more times until that sharp end is gone, okay? Then I like to pinch it tight because I like the wire to be as least noticeable as possible, plus it keeps it from moving around. Okay, so let's do the same thing right here, all right? We're going to pass it underneath so we can get our And if you're not sure about what you're doing, don't clip the wire off until you make sure your sign's where you want it, because short wire makes it hard to adjust the sign, okay? Okay, so now we went once under the second crossbar. It's really hard to see because the wire is hard to show up on the camera. Once under the first one, once under again, okay? And you're only doing the bars, okay? You're not passing back through the mesh. You're not attaching to a pipe cleaner. You're only going looping around 1 and 2. Okay, usually 3 times is about where I'm good, because you don't want a big clump of wire on the back either. Okay, snip. And then this one is just long enough to tuck under, so tuck it under. Right there. Okay, squeeze it tight. Just like to clamp it a little bit. Right there. Okay. Last one. Same deal, okay? We're going to go around once. Got a pipe cleaner hitchhiker there. Okay, you're going to go around once. Now that we've got one, we're going to pass under. Okay, 1. And you can see where it wants to get a little out of control, okay? You just want to bring it back because you want all your wire to stay in one place so it's nice and neat. 2. And 3. Okay. Then cut it off a little bit. Wrap it around, and it's a little too short to wrap under that last bar. So grab it and wrap it either across or underneath that top bar one more time so that it's not hanging out where it could cut you or your customer or anybody. Turn that around. Okay. Sometimes the wire is cranky and tricky. You gotta just work with it until it does what you want. And after you've done it, run your finger on it and make sure it's not sharp, okay? So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? I don't know if you can see the wire here. All right, so now our back's looking all nice and neat. We're going to turn it around the front. Make sure your carrot sign is where you want it. You can still adjust it a little bit, okay? It's tied in, it's not glued down. If you're concerned about it moving at all, you can add a little bit of hot glue underneath. The only thing I'm going to say is don't just depend on the hot glue. Make sure you have something else, because if you do that, especially on these types of wreaths, because they go between doors and there's a tendency for it to get really hot in the space between the front door and the screen door, because most of them are have that glass front on them. If you do that and it heats up, your whole sign's gonna fall off, and that is not a good look. Okay, so now the only thing we need to do is finish this up. So you're gonna take your little wire cutters. I did have a few people ask me where I got these. My answer is I'm not sure. My husband and I have actually had these since college, and they're my favorite because of the way that they sit in your hand. But I have no earthly idea where they're from. They don't have a brand or a label or anything, but they're probably 20 years old. So you're going to pull your pipe cleaner to the front, and you're going to snip off the majority of it, okay? And then take what's left and just tuck it down into the mesh under the sign. This is going to make everything look all nice and neat. And at this time, you can feel free to adjust your ribbons, fluff your ribbons, whatever you want to do. Okay, so for underneath, you're going to do the same thing. See where the pipe cleaner is? But on this one, snip them off. Okay, take them, and I like to do one up, one down, and it's just going to curve around and look just like your pipe cleaner. You'll be able to see it better when we go around. So same thing, snip it off, and you just want to push it in, and then you'll be nice and neat. And on the top ones, I just push it under the sign just because it makes it a little bit neater, but you could certainly push one back and one forward as well. I just don't like to see the ties on these, so but on some people aren't bothered by that. It's just like on a big wreath, some people leave the ties on and some people snip them off. I leave the ties on because I like to glue things to the ties, and they hold glue like none other. But when you're not adding the embellishments, there's really no reason to keep them. Just gonna tuck that back behind the sign. Alright, and fluff up the ribbons. Guys, I really like how this came out. I think it looks super cute. Are you guys all ready for Easter? I am not. I have to put up my St. Patrick's decorations today, probably once my kids get home from school. I don't have a lot. I just have a little sign I bought at Hobby Lobby a couple years ago, a flag, and last year my older son wanted to make a pot of gold, so I bought a little cauldron, or I might have had it, I'm not sure, and we just filled it with gold ornaments and glued them down, and so we have a little leprechaun pot of gold. And last year we had a leprechaun tree too, with a little top hat and some rainbow bows and little pots of gold that we made out of the Dollar Tree, some little pots from the Dollar Tree, and some gold coins that my husband drilled holes in so we could put some ribbon in, but we don't have room for that here, so we took our tree down, and maybe in our next house we can go back to doing one tree for every holiday. My older son loved it. We used to make all the decorations, and it was a good time. I miss it a little bit. But in this house, it would have to stay smack dab in the center of the living room. It just doesn't work. So, alright. And also, once you fluff that up to cut everything off, make sure you fluff it back down. If you get a little piece of plastic mesh, all you got to do is just snip it or cut it. My scissors are downstairs. I've been trying to work on my sewing skills. It is coming along slowly, but I've been watching this guy on Instagram sew stuff out of recycled materials, and I really wanted to try it. So I went to the thrift store and I bought an old quilt, and I made myself a sweatshirt, and all that. It's coming out actually pretty nice. I have little to no sewing skills, mind you. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's always good to find a way to be a little more sustainable and do things, and I'm looking to just learn a few new skills. It seemed like a good place to start. So anyway, I can't sew upstairs because I mostly sew after my kids go to sleep, and the sewing machine makes too much noise. So I took it downstairs and left my scissors down there. It is not a very exciting story, but it is true. But you could see why people do that. You know, I bought that blanket for $4, and for $4 I'm going to get a brand new hoodie, plus have a little bit more left over to do, I don't know, a Christmas stocking or a backpack or something. And last time I saw a sweatshirt I liked, it was almost 50 bucks. So you can see where that has a lot of appeal. Alright, we got them all. We've fluffed our ribbons. So here we go. Here's our final product. Excuse me. It's just perfect for between the two doors. I think it's so cute. I love the little carrot sign. So that'll be it for this one. I will see you guys in a little while for a tutorial about bow making. And anything else you guys want to see, just let me know. I'm here for it. We will try and do some fun and different stuff. Until next time, have a good day.